Hello and welcome to Technique Tuesday. I'm Sue Kramer. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Minnesota. And this month we are talking about inked backgrounds. I'm calling it inked backgrounds and more because what we're creating can be used for more than just backgrounds. I have some samples to show you, some cards to show you, and then I'm going to actually show you the technique. So let's start with my samples. For the first set here, I used Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent. I decided that those colors were too close together. Well, maybe I just used too much Evening Evergreen in my samples. So I'm using 2 ray inkers and then either water or isopropyl alcohol to make the re-inkers more liquidy so that they blend and create our backgrounds. So I'm learning that the paper you used for this technique makes a big difference, as does the water or the alcohol. This is regular basic white cardstock. This one was thick vanilla cardstock. You can see that when I used water on my vellum, it wrinkled. That's okay, we'll be able to use that. And then I don't know if you can see the glimmer on here. This is our shimmer cardstock, and it's even thicker, so it stays nice and flat, and you can get some interesting backgrounds with that. So that was with water and those 2 colors, Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent. My second one's here, and I only have 2 left because I made samples or cards out of them. This is the vanilla, and this is the vellum, and look how nice and flat that is. This is Fresh Freesia and Gorgeous Grape. I decided to use 2 colors that were further from each other. I thought about using Highland Heather instead of the Gorgeous Grape, but I'm glad I used the grape because it's so different than the Fresh Freesia, and this will be really fun to make cards out of. My last 2 colors, and again, I only have these 2 samples because I made cards out of these. This was Sahara Sand and Pool Party. My idea is that I'll be using many of my sea related stamps with these. I counted, I have 7 stamp sets that are water, ocean related, so I'll have a lot of fun with these. Again, that's Sahara Sand and Pool Party. You can see I punched out of that one, so didn't use it for a background, I used it for my sentiment. Let's get started. When I made those samples, I used this sheet, I forget what it's called, a craft sheet, I think. Stampin' Up! Does not carry these, and I understand that when I use this, there's a glare right here. So I came up with another alternative, because you may not have one of these either. I actually have a couple of them. I do like to use them. So I am using a stamp case. Oh, stop. Just a stamp case, and we do sell these, or your stamps come in. The ink won't harm it, so you can use a stamp set that you have and just use this to keep your place nice and clean. I'm going to grab a piece of white paper just in case I do make a mess. So I said we're using re-inkers. I have Pale Papaya and Cajun Craze. I thought those would make some interesting backgrounds together. And then what we're using is this soft, flimsy, not soft, but flimsy, acetate sheet. And that came from, I didn't purchase it. You can purchase window sheets. I suggest you use the liners that come with our photopolymer stamp sets. This happens to be well done. One side is very flimsy. I don't know if you can hear. The other side is very stable. I like to use the flimsy one. I get a better application of the ink onto my cardstock. So that's what we're using. We're using this acetate sheet to pick up our ink and add it and kind of apply it to our paper. So you can see I've added some Pale Papaya cardstock to my pile here. So we're going to start with water, adding water to it. So I'm going to take my Pale Papaya. I'm going to use quite a few drops, and I'm just putting them around. My dark color, in this case Cajun Craze, I'm only going to put a couple dots and kind of keep them to one side. I've learned that with the Evening Evergreen and the Soft Succulent, I made such a mess and didn't get the colors I was looking for. I do have my self on my computer so I can see what I'm doing. And then I'm just going to spray this with some water with our spritzer. And I have a roll of paper towel handy. Let me tear some of that off because I will probably need it. So I'm going to take my acetate sheet. Hopefully you can see. Let me try to go sideways here. And just kind of roll it in the water and pick up the water and the ink. And then put it right onto my card. And this is white. So when I let that dry, it'll give me some interesting shading. I see I'm not getting a lot of the pale papaya. The Cajun Craze is taking over. I'm just going to set that to the side. Let's try our next. This is thick vanilla. So I see my light color is over here, so I'm going to try to put that down. There we go. And I really don't like that really dark. Oh, look at how quickly that absorbed. All right, well, we'll just leave it. Let's add some more. We play around and make it, here, we'll go like this. We can just touch and add more interesting. All right, so there's that one. That absorbed very, very quickly. Here is a piece of vellum. You can see I'm not going to add more ink to it. You can see there's already some on my acetate. And if I pull it up, this is blending way too much for my liking, but that's all right. You can see it's already curling. I'm going to set that aside, and if I put that through an embossing folder, it would dry flat. I mean, it'll come out flat. We'll put that aside. Next, I have shimmer white, or our shimmer paper. I'm trying to pick up some of the pale papaya. So I'm just going to add some more pale papaya drops. Hopefully when you buy ink pads, you do buy the re-inkers so that you'll have some of these with your re-inkers in your favorite colors. Let's add some water to that. So just play around with different oh, I like that. That'll be fun. That'd be great for a pumpkin in fall. The last thing that I haven't even tried yet, so we're going to learn about this together. I'm picking up my ink and setting it down. Oh, look at that. On my pale papaya. So that's the same color as my lightest. The cardstock is the same color as my lightest ink. Isn't that beautiful? When it dries, it is going to be lovely. So you know that I don't like to waste my ink. So I have a piece here, and I am just going to add all this ink to this piece of cardstock. I figure I paid for this re-inker. I should use it, right? I will show you what I did with one of these pieces in a minute. So just pick up that color and lay it down. All right, I can put this aside. I'll show you what I did with this later, so you have to stick with me. I'm going to tease you to stick around. I can just clean this off. See, the case is not harmed at all. It's good as new. All right, now we are going to switch and do those same papers. Those same papers, same colors. I do like using just two colors. I think it would get too muddy if you use too many, if you use more than that. This time I'm just going to put a couple drops. See if that's any better. Now this is my isopropyl alcohol, big bottle. And if you look, there is an expiration date on here. The odor of this is not very strong at all, which is why I'm okay doing this in the basement. Ideally, I would be outside with this because they do say to use in a well-ventilated area. My basement is not what I would consider well-ventilated, but because it is kind of expired and not as strong odor-wise, I'm okay using it. And as soon as I'm done with the video, I will go somewhere else and let this dissipate. All right, so we're going to pick up. Oh, I kind of like that better. Let's play around a little. See if we can get some more interesting colors and shapes. This is the white, basic white cardstock regular. This is thick. Sorry if I've been off. I thought I was in camera. This is thick vanilla. Look at those colors. Bear with me. I'm going to show you some cards when I'm done. Here is, I'm going to add some more alcohol. Again, that's in our Stampin Spritzer. And I'm just playing around, trying to get interesting shapes and colors. And see, with the alcohol, it is not curling near as much as it did with water. So if you like the look of the vellum, I suggest you use the alcohol instead of the water in your spritzer. Let's do, I have 2 more to go, so we'll just do 2 of those and 1 of those, a tiny one of those. Again, that was Pale Papaya and Cajun Craze. I have my shimmer paper. And I still have the dot there, so I'm going to play around. Get that interesting shape and colors. Just play around. No 2 are the same. And you'll come up with lots of ideas on what to do with these. Look at that. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that pretty? I don't know if you can see the shimmer. Again, that's the shimmer. I'm running out of space over here. And then this is the same color as my lightest ink. Oh, look at that. Oh, so fun. So fun playing around, trying something new. If you have a suggestion for a technique that you want me to play around with and learn, and then share my discovery with you, I'm happy to do that. So there's just a little bit of color. And then I'm going to bring back my, going to clean this all up. Just add the last of my ink onto here. All right. So, you're probably wondering, let me put this away. You're probably wondering, oh, not that. What would I ever do with this? So I had a piece just like that that had some purple on it. I used our medium daisy punch, and then when you layer those, you get a very lovely, let me make sure you can see that, flower. So that's one idea, is to, when you have these, I'm calling them backgrounds, but that's the first thing I thought of when I create these, is to use them for backgrounds. So here is the Sahara Sand and Pool Party. That's just on the bottom. Let me make sure you can see what I've got. I thought it was interesting. It kind of, after I put the card together, I took a picture of it, and it just kind of looks like the seaweed is growing. So there's one. It's stamped a little on the inside. And you saw where I had punched out. So there I just used, this is cardstock that I used for my sentiment. This was the vellum that I inked, and then I ran through the embossing folder. Look how that, I'm hoping you can see the colors there. Again, Sahara Sand and Pool Party. With my green, this was the vanilla one. I wished I had put it on soft seafoam instead, but I used my blending brush and the soft seafoam ink and added to that. And what I did with those, you can see I punched with the bow punch, and that's where the leaves came from. And then my pale papaya and gorgeous grape. I made my flower. There's no sentiment on here. I don't know if I'll add one or not. And my final card, I did just use it as a background, and then I stamped on it. So it's like I made my own pattern paper. This is vellum that was, I ran that through with the cane weave embossing folder that is in the current mini catalog. So I'm hoping that I've inspired you to try this technique. It is a little messy, but it was really fun. Have a roll of paper towel handy. Try different colors. Try different papers. I hope you have fun with it. I know I did. So watch for me to use the rest of my samples, including the ones I just made for you with the pale papaya and Cajun Craze. Watch for those cards in the next few weeks. So thank you for joining me. Happy stamping.